Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Kuno Cooper, the proud Assistant Superintendent of St. Louis Park Public Schools. I want to thank you for your time right now as you sit for our presentation about our St. Louis Park referendum, proud past and prepared future. Before I go any further here, just want to thank our community for the support you have provided to our St. Louis Park schools over the years. Your support over the years has provided us all school kitchen renovations, classrooms, classroom furniture upgrades, upgrades to our media center, moving PSI to its current location, our track and field, our stadium, the recent updates to Aquila Elementary, our middle school parking lots, our gender neutral restrooms, and our new gymnastic gym. We thank you for your support. Today's presentation is going to give a brief overview of our district, also a financial overview. Then we're going to dig deeper into the ballot question that you will see August 11th. And then you'll have an opportunity to use a QR code to ask questions. Now, as we go further into this, we always ground ourselves in our mission here at St. Louis Park. And recently, about a year ago, we had a consultant come in and we updated our mission statement. There was a couple of things that were focused on in our mission statement, and those things are bolded, those words each, a strong focus on academic excellence and centering student voice and experience. In the next couple of slides, you will see the focus on academic excellence and our student voice. And as our mission grounds us, our core values are the attitudes and behaviors that we will carry out. We also start each meeting with our core values with we believe in the brilliance of ourselves and others. We believe in collective responsibility. We believe in authentic community engagement. We believe in high expectations. We believe in persistent effort. We believe in advocacy for equity. And we believe in racial consciousness and cultural competence. From a survey and data from a 2026 statewide survey and district-wide parent climate survey, this is what our community believes. Our community believes that 90% says this: school is well-rounded and preparing their children for the future. 86% of our community believes that technology is important for student learning. And also, 84% believe that the district is working towards creating an environment that is culturally and racially inclusive for staff, students, and families. Academic excellence. As we prepare students for what's next, 90% of St. Louis Park High School graduation rate. Here's a quote from one of our high school students. When I grow up, I want to be a good citizen who contributes good things to the world. Building and belonging in relationships. Also from the survey, 80% elementary students say they are learning to listen to each of their classmates' voices. That's centering student voice. Here is a question where it says, share a time where you were nervous or unsure about how to do something at school, and you got it done anyway. The student responded, I did not know how to do something in math, and people in my class helped me understand it. And that's from an elementary student. That's collective responsibility. As we talk about technology, we have a filtering system that is able to capture how much screen times our students are on their technology. Now, we have information for grades 3 through 5. And for grades 3 through 5, it's an average time that they spend on their Chromebooks 45 minutes a day while in school. And for secondary, 1.5 hours that students spend on their Chromebooks at school during the day, focused on learning. We do not have data grades K through 2, as our systems are not able to capture iPad screen time at this time, just Chromebooks. But we will talk later more about technology and the other parts of technology that we're looking for in this referendum. Here's a quote here and a question. What is something you learned in school that changed your thinking? A student said, doing health class lessons about social media, I changed the way I think about my phone use. Once again, that's from a middle school student. Student voice. And we also have to take a moment and look back at our proud history in St. Louis Park, the many things that has been accomplished. I'm going to focus on a couple of points here. Think about 1969. Senior Steve Salterman builds a computer that adds, subtracts, multiplies, divides, and plays tic-tac-toe in 1969. Another thing that really highlights what this community is about and how great this community is that St. Louis Park was named one of the 100 best communities for young people by America's Promise. This is the only Minnesota community that's been recognized for 6 years. That is an accomplishment. At this time, I'm going to pass it over to our director, Josiah Nebo, to give a financial overview.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. My name is Josiah Nebo, and I'm the Director of Business Services here at the district. Before discussing the need for additional funding, it is important to highlight the district's commitment to sound financial management. St. Louis Park Public School has consistently maintained and improved its financial practices through independent annual audits, oversight from the school board where they review every transaction on a monthly basis. We also have a Citizens Finance Advisory Committee that meets monthly. And we are constantly developing and revisiting our long-range financial planning and forecasting. Over the past several years, the district has taken difficult but necessary action to strengthen its financial position. These efforts have included budget reduction, cost containment measures, operational efficiencies, and careful spending decisions. As a result, the district has improved and stabilized its fund balance despite significant financial challenges. We are committed to being responsible stewards of taxpayer resources, managing our debt prudently, and honoring the trust our community has placed in us. The financial reality that we face is dire. While the district has made substantial progress, we continue to face significant financial pressures. The reality is that school funding has not kept up with inflation. In 2003, the general education formula allowance per student was $4,996. Today, that number is only $7,481. If the general education formula allowance was to keep up with inflation, the district would currently be receiving $8,901. That is a difference of $1,420 per student, which equates to about $6.4 million in additional funding to St. Louis Park annually. At the same time, the district is experiencing rising utility costs, higher costs for supplies and materials, increasing in salaries and benefit expenses that's needed to attract and retain high quality staff. Although we have implemented budget reductions and operational efficiencies, expenses continue to grow faster than revenue. In addition, uncertainty at both the federal and state level makes long-term planning increasingly challenging. Simply put, the district has reached a point where continue to delay investment and continued pressure on the general fund core K-12 instruction experience is no longer sustainable. Okay, I'm gonna, actually, can you go back to one slide? So this chart illustrates how the general fund education formula allowance per student has not kept up with inflation. The orange dotted line is the amount that the district receives per student over the past 20 years. And the blue line represents what the funding should be if it was to keep up with the basic inflation. Next slide. Here, I want to highlight the three different funding streams for funding school districts. We have a technology fund, also known as a capital projects levy fund, which is used to fund technology infrastructure. Then we have the general fund, which is primarily used to fund K-12 education, including teachers, instructional assistants, supplies, and other operational costs. Finally, we have a deferred maintenance fund that is also known as our long-term facility maintenance to fund repair and maintenance. As you can see, the current revenue that the technology and deferred maintenance fund generate is not sufficient to cover the required expenses, thus leaving the general fund have to cover those expenses taken away from the core K-12 instructional experiences. Our ask on the referendum would allow us to decouple the technology and deferred maintenance funds from the general fund and preserve the general fund for core K-12 instructional experiences. So the first part of our ask is for deferred maintenance. So what is deferred maintenance? Deferred maintenance is the practice of postponing planned repairs, replacement, or upkeep of buildings and equipment due to insufficient funding. When maintenance is deferred, problem often becomes more expensive to fix later. With the issuance of the 2022 bond referendum, we were able to plan and earmark funds for projects on the left, which are ongoing or will be starting up soon. This new referendum is asking specifically to address boilers and piping replacement at the middle and high school. Here, I want to pass it on to our Director of Facilities and Safety, Jim Langevin, to talk more about our boiler system and the need.
Thank you, Director Nebo. As you can see from this slide, this is a gentleman by the name of Kyle Gustafson. He is our facilities coordinator, and one of his major roles is to make sure that our boilers are up and running at all times. We've challenged many times lately with the high school and the middle school of the boilers not being up and running. Kyle has spent many weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, in particular the high school, making sure that those boilers are up and running, providing enough heat so we're able to maintain our class schedule on Monday morning. I believe there's a short video that we'll be showing next to kind of run you through what the expectation and what we're looking at here.
My name is Jim Langevin. I'm the Director of Facilities and Safety for St. Louis Park Public Schools. These buildings were built in 1955, roughly. These are the original boilers to the building. These boilers are 70 years old. Their expectancy is anywhere from 30 to 50 years old. We've hit the life expectancy of these boilers. These boilers at the time were considered efficient. They were somewhere in the neighborhoods of maybe 50, 60% efficient. The new boilers that we are going to be looking to install will be in that 90 to 98% efficiency. So this is one of our pumps supplying the steam out to the air handler units. And this one you can see failed on us, and we just recently here within the last 2 weeks had to tear it apart and replace the seals and the gaskets on it. With new boilers, we're small and create an area that is easier to work with, easier to maintain, and more cost effective in the long run. 90% of the piping you see in here will be replaced when we are doing the boilers. So this is not just a boiler replacement. This is a piping replacement as well. We want to try to bring ourselves into the 21st century with technology, with automation.
So as you can see with that short video, the challenges that we are currently facing with this. Yes, the boilers at the high school are 70 years old, and we will look to replace 3 boilers. The middle school boilers are 67 ye're old, and we're replacing both those boilers. The fourth bullet there that says we're spending approximately 20 to 25,000 per year on boiler is a little bit misleading. I think we spent that in January alone, just trying to make sure that we could maintain heat at the high school. Some of the other areas that we are recently coming up with is the burners. We're noticing it is hit their life expectancy, and We need to replace the burners at both middle school and the high school. And the burner average cost can be between $50,000 and $100,000 per boiler, which is far exceeding our current deferred maintenance money that we have set aside for these areas. You know, along with the boilers, like I said, this is not just a boiler project. We will be replacing all piping within the boiler room as well as the tunnels. We will be moving away from our current level. Our current boilers produce a low pressure steam, and we will be going to a hot water boiler system. These new boilers have a life expectancy of 20 to 25 years with an annual maintenance cost of about $1,500. As well as, like I said, replacing all the piping throughout the building. We're looking at replacing about 2 miles of piping. And that piping accounts for between 60 and 70% of the total project cost. While these older boilers are, steam, and they are considered what we consider dual fuel. So they run off both natural gas and fuel oil. So currently at both the high school and at the middle school, we have underground storage tanks that contain that fuel oil. Each site has a 10,000 gallon tank. And when Centerpoint goes to ask us to switch over because the demand is so high for natural gas, we have to switch over to the fuel oil. My concern with these fuel oil tanks is they've been in the ground for well over 20 years and pose a potential large-scale environmental hazard. So with this project, we would be removing that hazard and removing those tanks and going straight to a firm natural gas with these new boilers. And now I'll turn it back over to Josiah Nebo. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, for that explanation on our boiler system. So the second part of the referendum addresses our current and future technology needs. Here, the black line currently represents the maximum amount of revenue the district can generate from our existing capital project levy, which is currently at $4.2 million. Since 2004, that amount has not been enough to fund our existing technology needs. Some of our technology needs include network infrastructure. So we rely heavily on robust wireless networks, internet connectivity, switches, servers, and cybersecurity systems that require regular upgrades to remain reliable and secure. Cybersecurity protection. We face numerous cybersecurity threats. Technology Levy Fund helps pay for security software, monitoring tools, backup system, and staff training to protect student and employee data. Educational technology. So modern education increasingly depends on digital learning tools, online assessment, learning management system, and educational software that require ongoing investment. And finally, enterprise resource planning system. Our technology supports our payroll, finance, human resources system, transportation, food service, communication system, and student information system, making the district operation more efficient and effective. Without dedicated technology funding, the district must divert dollars from classroom instruction, staffing, and other educational programs to pay for our essential technology needs. This slide compares the current capital project levy with our neighboring district. At $4.2 million annually, St. Louis Park currently is below several peer districts, which range from approximately $7 million to $15.5 million. If approved, our request would bring the district total to about $9.8 million annually, placing us more in line with comparable districts in the region. All right. The chart on the left shows that our technology funding per student is $270 less than nearby districts. The chart on the right shows that if this referendum was to pass, the district will have sufficient technology fund to cover its current and future needs. Here you can see our current technology fund is projected to operate at a deficit of $600,000 in the current school year of 2026. And again, at another deficit of $850,000 in the school year of 2027, putting continual pressure on the general fund core K-12 instructional experience. The passage of this referendum would alleviate that pressure in school year 2028 and beyond. So next, I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Cooper to talk about the ballot question. I want to reiterate a few points. As a district, we have worked hard to manage our finances responsibly. We have reduced spending, improved operational efficiency, strengthened our financial position, and delayed projects whenever possible. However, there comes a point when continued postponement creates greater costs and risks for the future. The proposed bond referendum capital projects levy are an investment in our students, our schools, and our community. And I want to thank you for your support.
Thank you so much, Director Nebo and Director Longerman, for giving us an update on our maintenance, our technology, and financial overview. Now, let's talk about what's on the ballot as we prepare for the future. All right, it's one question on the ballot, but there's two parts. The first part on the ballot is going to be the bond issuance of $50 million. Now, the $50 million is to replace the 5 boilers at the middle school and high school, and also replace the pipes and remove underground fuel tanks. The second part of the question is the capital projects levy. That's going to be revoking the existing 4.287% and then replacing it with the new 10.127% to provide technology for network security, infrastructure, and student safety. So as I was talking about technology earlier, this technology is that inner working technology that you may not always see, but it's the technology that provides security with our Raptor system that allows visitors to come in, the technology that we use for access into the buildings with our badges. It's the technology with our cameras to be able to make sure we're keeping a secure and safe area. And also the technology that goes into making sure our boilers are working effectively. So those are some parts of the technology that is going for this project's levy. Now, this is how it looks on the ballot. There's 2 points there that are highlighted, and those are the 2 parts of the one question. The highlighted part here, you see the first part is to issue general obligation school building bonds in an amount not to exceed $50 million. And then the next part that's bolded and highlighted is the second part where it talks about revoke its existing capital projects levy authorization of 4.287% times the net tax capacity of the school district and to replace that authorization with the new authorization in the maximum amount of 10.127% times the net tax capacity of the school district. The other thing that's very, very important in this ballot is at the bottom. And at the bottom, it talks about very clear here that by voting yes on this ballot question, you are voting for a property tax increase. So let's go a little deeper more into that question and let's magnify into it. So here's the question. Shall the issuance of the general obligation school building bonds, revocation of the existing capital project levy authorization, and the new capital project levy authorization proposed by the Board of Independent School District number 283, St. Louis Park Public Schools, Minnesota, be approved? At that part at the bottom, you can see yes or no. Now, here is our tax impact calculator. This is an estimate if you have a $400,000 home, how it would affect you on the new referendum. $360 a year or $30 a month. At this time, if you want to get an idea how this will impact you, you could pause the video at this time, scan the QR code, and see how it will impact you. Once again, this plan would replace aging boilers and related systems at the St. Louis Park Middle School and St. Louis Park High School. Also, as we continue to provide that ongoing funding for technology, safety, and facility needs through a capital projects levy. So, thank you so much for your time and attention. Here's a QR code here for you to scan to find out more about the referendum. And if you have questions, you can add them there. Thank you for taking time to listen to our proud past, prepared future. Vote August 11th. Thank you.